In Judges chapter 16, Samson continues to give in to temptation, and it leads to his demise and his death. That process of temptation, sin, and death reminds me of this verse in James chapter 1, verse 14 through 16, where it says, "Each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desires and enticed. Then, after their desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death." So Samson is supposed to be Israel's deliverer and judge, and he's chosen by God and set apart, to deliver Israel from the Philistines. And yet he continuously surrenders and gives in to sexual temptation and lust. That's what it talks about in Judges chapter 16. In verse 1, it actually says that he saw a prostitute and he went and spent the night with her. And so the Philistines heard that he was there, and they planned to capture him the next morning. Well, he gets up in the middle of the night, goes and tears the doors off the city gate and escapes. Then in verse 4, it says he's in love with another Philistine woman named Delilah. Now, Delilah, she gets offered the equivalent of like $125,000 to basically betray Samson and figure out the secret to his great strength, subdue him, and then turn him into the Philistines. And so 3 times she asks Samson, like, what is the secret of your great strength, and how can you be subdued? And 3 times Samson lies to her, saying, if you tie me up with like these fresh leather cords, or if you tie me up with brand new ropes that have never been used, or if you take my long hair and like weave it into a loom, then I will become weak. And so Samson tells her all of these lies, and she tries each one of these things. And each time she's like, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." And every time he escapes. As I'm reading through this though, I'm like, dude, Samson, how do you not understand or see that this woman is trying to manipulate you and get you killed? Like, it seems like he is just blind to that. And honestly, guys, we tend to do that a lot, okay? So it reminds me of this wayward woman in the book of Proverbs. In Proverbs chapter 7, verse 21 and 22, this is what it says. It says, "She led him astray with persuasive words and seduced him with smooth talk. All at once, he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter." It's an incredible picture, right? And so, young man, I want you to pay attention here. Keep your way far from her. Don't go near her door. Don't spend time with her. Don't get to know her. Don't mess with that line. Stay away. And young women, don't be like this woman, right? Samson gave in to this temptation, and he told Delilah everything about his Nazirite vow, how he was set apart for God, how he was never to cut his hair. And so once she learned this, she shaved his head, she violated his vow to God, and his strength left him, and the Philistines captured him and enslaved him. And so Samson failed, right? Like, how could he deliver God's people now that he had been captured? And yet, God still had a plan to deliver his people from the Philistines. So God empowered Samson one last time at a big party that the Philistines were throwing, and they brought Samson in to basically make fun of him and mock him. And there was these 2 big pillars that were holding the whole building up, and he leaned against those. He pushed those pillars over, and the entire building collapsed, and it killed all of the leaders of the Philistines in one move. So once again, we see that God is faithful to deliver his people just like he promised he would, even though Samson failed. And I want you to know that God will be faithful to deliver you as well, because God is trustworthy. God is faithful, and you can trust him to save you from your sin if you put your faith and trust in Jesus. There's also an incredible warning in Judges chapter 16. Look at how Samson gradually and repeatedly was dragged away by his own evil desires and his own temptations. This isn't like oh, whoops, I slipped up, I made a mistake. Like, he gave in to the temptation of lust, right? When the Bible says that we are to flee from sexual immorality, it means run. Like, don't walk the line, don't play in the gray area and try to, figure out what's right, what's wrong. Like, don't do that. Just run, like the total opposite direction. So physically, it means get up physically and run away from it, because temptation leads to sin and sin will lead to death. So I want to challenge you guys with that. If you're struggling with any sort of temptations, sexual temptation, lust, anything like that, get up physically and run away from it, because it's not something to mess around with. Samson messed around with it, and it led to his destruction. So temptation leads to sin, and sin leads to death. If you are tempted, don't mess with it. Run away from it. Get away from it at all costs.